Ladies and gentlemen, Star Citizen have just released their roadmap roundup and their monthly report for February. There's some cool stuff in here that I'm very excited for, so let's have a look at it, see what CIG are up to at the moment. Before we do jump into this today though, guys, I am doing an Entrepreneur Pack giveaway over on my Twitch channel to celebrate going full-time content creation. So make sure you check the links below, head over to the Twitch channel, and hang out when we play some Star Citizen. Starting with the roadmap roundup, we have Rivers core tech has been made committed for 3.17. This patch has had a lot of stuff gutted from it. I am very happy that Rivers are coming in. There's a lot of stuff that's really exciting about water-based gameplay in this game that we're going to be talking about in a future video. What they're going to be doing is they're starting off with the microtext river. This is a pretty normal Star Citizen thing. We get one version of the tech so we can try it out, see how it looks, and then they implement it on a much wider basis. And I'm happy that they chose microtech because that's going to be the place that looks the best. We did get a video last year of what River Tech was going to look like, and we have an ISC tomorrow where they're also going to be talking about River Tech, so we're going to be seeing quite a bit of stuff. The River Core Tech really is the first sort of water-based gameplay we're getting at all in Star Citizen, and we know that they're looking at doing some stuff underwater with biomes, all of this sort of stuff on the progress tracker, buoyancy, ships being able to float, that sort of thing. All of that's coming soon. Rivers is just that first step. So I'm really excited to see where they take this. And added on to the progress tracker, we have the dynamic mission system. This will allow select mission types to be dynamically tailored to the current environment and quantum at a later date. This is one of those things that seems like it's going to be adding to the overall uniqueness of a mission. When you log in, you're not going to be doing the exact same things that you did last week. There's a lot of customizability that this adds just to make missions feel a lot more fun and a lot less grindy. But that's it for the roadmap roundup. It was a very, very short one, but a very important one. Very excited to see what's happening with these rivers and super excited for the ISC tomorrow. So let's head on over to the Persistent Universe monthly report. Every single month, they show us what all of the teams have been working on, all of the things that we can expect over the course of the next couple of months. And there's kind of sneak peeky type stuff in there. Let's have a look. Starting off with something kind of controversial, we have the coffee shop vendor. The AI content team have closed down the first pass on the coffee shop vendor, which is more or less an extension of the bartending AI that we've had for a year or two now. And despite what some people say, that behavior is pretty important. It's basically the basis of the vendor behavior. And if you get into a server that's, you know, not the highest ping, not the most amount of players, that vendor behavior is actually really, really impressive. For the security behavior, the team added new wildlines, fixed the transition between at ease and to attention, and play-tested guard reactions to players moving around or loitering in front of restricted locations. Love that. We're going to be getting told off from NPCs when we're in restricted sections. We're also getting NPCs trying to steal items from vending machines and getting frustrated if they fail, which is an amazing behavior, and I'm very excited to see that happen while I'm running through stations. They're also adding malfunctions to vending machines, and we saw a little bit of work on medical and worker behavior. The AI tech team have been working on something very important, which is the Planetary navigation mesh. As far as I understand, the way that this works is it allows NPCs to basically roam on planets and moons unhindered. So some very important stuff when it comes to pathing, not getting stuck, and that's going to allow us to have missions where we finally actually have NPCs above ground. If you watch one of the recent ISCs, they actually explain this a little bit and they go through a bit of the process. Definitely a part of the AI that's super important to make the game feel a bit more lived in. The majority of the work from the past month of the AI tech team was relying on that. In addition, we've got some stuff where NPCs can listen to broadcasted systemic events, dynamic conversations, debugging movement issues. On the ship side, they worked on getting ships to be able to land anywhere on planets or moons. They improved NPC to NPC collision, locomotion work, and some stuff on the subsumption editor, which honestly, I don't really understand that much, but I'm sure some of you tech guys do. So if you know what the hell subsumption is, let me know in the description below. I'm dumb, I don't get it. Animation team mostly worked on some of the new tech, vendors, security, and also some facial animations. The art characters team worked on the subscriber flight suit, and a continuing work on Pyro as that makes its way through, which I am still 95% sure we're gonna get by the end of the year. And we got a little bit of concept art for a salvage specialist backpack and some Pyro gang outfits. So expect to see some work on those in the near future as well. As is the case with every month, there's a bunch of ships in the pipeline, and there's a ton of work done to them as well. With the upcoming Mist Hull A, they've finished interior lighting, completed LODs, and they are working on the damage pass. And the damage pass is one of the last things they do before the ship is released. The Scorpius is now final art complete. One of the big things is they finished the wings and all related animations. In addition, they've started the LOD and damage passes, so seems like work's going pretty well on that. Everyone's favorite alien ship, the Banu Merchantman, is white box complete and is moving to grey box. Grey box is a big deal. Progress on the ship has been really fast since they started at the end of last year, and right now they're researching different materials that they can use to make the ship look nice. The big one, 2 unannounced vehicles are approaching grey box and final art respectively. The latter received work on the LODs and will receive final lighting, tints, and damage passes shortly. We've got an unannounced vehicle coming out very soon. The first, I would assume, is more likely going to probably be in a concept ship that might release within the year. The second one looks like it's coming out pretty soon, if it's that far into its development. The US team spent most of their time finishing the Drake Vulture, and that means we've got salvage coming soon. There's a little bit more on that later in this report, but it also included adding a bunch of paints, and they've moved to finalizing LODs. They also worked to create a quality bar for the Drake Corsair. An updated kit was created, and the cockpit and mess hall were brought to final art. They also made design changes to the ship's layout after seeing that some areas were negatively affecting the player experience, such as trapping players in the cockpit and manned turrets. I mean, you don't need to be a genius to see that would negatively affect the player experience, but I'm glad that they've worked on it. The weapons team worked on the fire extinguisher, which we actually saw a sneak peek for last week. Here's that picture. And they made a pass on all iron sights to approve them from gameplay and design standpoints, which is great. Some of the iron sights are weird, to say the least. And they're currently wrapping up final art on the dedicated salvage tool. As part of the monthly report, they always put these little community sections in, basically explaining what happened over the course of the last month that was already sort of made public. So Jumptown 2.0, Xeno Threat, new player stuff, the Coromore contest, Hoverquad Q&A, Free Fly, referral bonus, all that sort of stuff is covered in this section. As always, we get to the engine section where I truly do not understand what's going on. All I know is that Gen 12 good, Vulcan good, something telemetry. So for those of you that do understand what's going on, the physics team continued to work on soft bodies. This now allows visual skins to blend between skinned and simmed positions. Work continued on general physics optimizations. On the renderer, further progress made on Gen 12. Tint support was added for massively instanced objects. In a sentence that I truly don't understand, additionally, CGAs can now render into RTTs, and close-up RTTs are no longer rendered within the G-buffer stage. If someone can do like a 30-second explanation of any of the engine stuff, that'd be fantastic. A little information that I do understand: atmosphere and cloud rendering has been ported over to Gen 12. We've got stuff like planet terrain shadows, VFX spawning, ground fog, already using Gen 12, and it looks like we'll be getting passes for atmosphere, clouds, ground fog, and planet terrain shadows. The ECUS inspector was improved and revised in the deactivation of thread safety around function static variables on Linux GGS, but we're just going to go to the next section. Characters and weapons features. Obviously the big thing coming up is salvage. We talked about it a little bit before. We've got the salvage weapon being done. We've got the Vulture coming out, and this team has been focusing on salvage. The mechanic that's been pushed since like 2016 is finally actually close. The use of damage mapping, which was mentioned in a previous report, is showing a lot of promise. However, there is still work to be done to reach the level of fidelity and persistence we are looking for visually. The actual gameplay is progressing well too. So, they give us a little description of how the salvage tool is actually going to be working in terms of the multi-tool variant. Currently, the multi-tool with salvage attachment is used to salvage material from physical parts with damage maps and reapply the same material to repair them. The work also began on a dedicated salvage repair tool that will offer better stats compared to the multi-tool attachment. Not surprised that this is happening. It is very similar to the new healing attachment that we got, where you have the version of the one that's on the multi-tool, which is just straight up healing, or you've got the Cure Life medical tool, which will give you a couple of options of how you want to heal and stabilize your patients. And I like that we're kind of going this route. We're turning the multi-tool into a multi-tool where you can just bring that one weapon and a couple of attachments with you if you want to modify on the go. There's also a little bit on here about the improvement of desync issues between players. The team are aiming to achieve improved fidelity without increasing latency, and last month saw local simulated characters reliably playing locomotion stop animations. Into the gameplay features, another huge thing that's been coming that has also been pushed back a little bit is Refueling, launching in Alpha 3.17. They are incredibly confident this is going to come out in the patch, and it's going to be a big deal. Now, we don't have Pyro out just yet, but Stanton is still large-ish, and the introduction of Refueling, while it's not going to have a massive impact over the majority of players in the game until we see the release of a new system, there are a lot of implications here. I speak a lot with the racing community of Star Citizen, and one thing that's really large is the refueling capabilities for long-range events. This includes stuff like the Daymar Rally, stuff like the Crux Cup, XGR. All of these organizations either have long-range or marathon sprinty type races, all of which can definitely use the refueling gameplay. So there is something in the game for it right now, but we won't see it properly used until Pyro comes out. Development also continued on the life support system and engineering gameplay, and the team also took over vehicle functionalities for the salvage mechanic. If I was a betting man, I would say that we're likely going to see some stuff from the features gameplay team about vehicle salvage next month. The vehicles feature team focused on technical initiatives for future releases. They go on to explain that this involves making sure transit carriages are working properly with server meshing, whereas currently they just never stream out, which is obviously going to put a lot of strain on the server and your client. So right now they're trying to find solutions for that sort of thing, and obviously it's pretty important. You need to get to the spaceport when you spawn in. Improvements were made to restricted areas, which involved reworking tools for the level designers to create restricted areas faster and easier. However, this will result in functional changes for players at some point. Minor improvements and updates were also made to features relating to upcoming ships. Sort of in a similar vein to the engine section, I don't really know what's going on with graphics and VFX programming. G12 stuff is happening, Vulkan stuff is happening. They're developing the fire hazard system. There's cool stuff. If you understand what it's happening, definitely take a look there. The lighting team started work on a major event planned for later in the year, and then progressed with minor areas before the key locations are available for a full pass. So that actually tells us two things. Firstly, big major event planned for later in the year that involves multiple locations. Now, this could be one of many different things, but that's pretty exciting. It's a little bit vague now. Hopefully we get some more information on it soon. The Pyro space stations as well are also coming along very nicely, with the lighting team doing a little bit more work on that, as you can see by some of these amazing pictures. As we move over to the locations team, we have some new medical locations still being worked on, like the Maria Pure of Heart Hospital in Lawville. Levski's hospital is considered complete. Obviously we don't have Levski in the game at the moment, but it's nice to know that when it does come back, the hospital will be good. And they've then moved on to derelict settlements. So we've just recently got all of these new derelict missions with these caterpillars in these different states of disrepair that we have to jump through, pick up some loot, hop through mines, do a little parkour, avoid fire, that sort of thing. And so what they're doing is they're taking that to a bit of a larger scale, and they're going to be building a derelict settlement out of an Aegis Reclaimer. This one has completed white box stage and is just a proof of concept at the moment, but it's a way for them to figure out how to do this on a larger scale in the future at a faster time rate. In addition to that, they've also been looking at doing a similar thing for the Mercury Star Runner and the Origin 600i. They have also begun reworking Lawville's cityscape, which I am a big fan of. It does look a bit dated at this stage. So the objective is to first upgrade the visual quality and then pave the way for larger buildings with interiors. Current scale of the buildings prevents building interiors with gameplay inside them. By scaling them up, the team will be able to add interiors as needed. The Sandbox team. So the Sandbox team have been working on the new outposts, and the Pyro outposts, based on what we saw in CitizenCon last year, are super cool. So I'm glad to see that these are getting moved down the pipeline, getting some playtesting done to them. There's still a way to go to a polished experience, but it's great to be able to play this as more complete product than we have in the past. We also saw, similar to the last section, work being done on the derelict outpost variations. The team apparently want to give a feeling of age and history, so they're creating several smaller exploration-driven spaces alongside the main occupied building. And we saw some work on Pyro's Skybox and Stanton's Lagrange points as well. Stuff that I don't really think of a lot of the time that are actually going to be quite interesting in-game, I think. The narrative team have been working on the new dynamic event. Please be Gold Rush. It's got to be Gold Rush, right? Surely. They were talking about Gold Rush at the start of last year. Now they're talking about upcoming dynamic event, getting some scripting and dialogue. It's got to be Gold Rush. Give me my mining dynamic event. However, they do say, with multiple characters and several non-linear objectives, it's one of the more complicated event scripts to date and required close coordination to ensure that every possible gameplay trigger was accounted for. If it's not the one that I want, this is pretty big. The three dynamic events we have right now, Xenothreat, Ninetales, and Jumptown. Ninetales and Jumptown are very linear. Extremely basic objective, do that, you're done. Xenothreat is a bit more complex, with having both the elements of protection, the Idris that jumps in and attacks the Javelin, picking up cargo and delivering it, and then once all that's completed, the entire next phase, where you've got to fight the three Idrises, the Javelin pops in, gives a helping hand. This is sounding like something that's more complex than that. This could be a huge gameplay update. The team also supported design on various upcoming features like refueling, new documentation for the pyro system, and proposing new mission character archetypes. And as always, they continue to release lore. We got Plain Truth discussing the CDF's recent efforts against Xenothreat, and a bunch of Galactopedia stuff. The props team we actually saw on Star Citizen Live this month. If you want to see a lot of the stuff that they did or check out how they do their stuff, make sure you go check out that SCL. The QA team mostly did live hotfixes and issues, and they're now sort of working towards figuring out what's going to be happening with 3.17. The Systemic Services and Tools team continued working and scheduling on dynamic events. And a feature that sort of fell to the wayside a little bit is the selling feature. The SST team have been working closely with the gameplay teams for that as well. The tech animation system have been focusing mostly on the DNA system. This has been an incredibly long process to refactor the systems to be data-driven and is very near to completion. Just a few tasks remain for us before we're able to commit to the testing procedure and integration into the main game. They continued work on head assets. They supported other teams with animation implementation and debug, as well as some more backend stuff like an engine animation file importer. And they're looking at creating a tool to recreate and effectively import assets directly from the engine. The Montreal team continues to work on tools that's going to help with the procedural location tool, and they assisted the locations team with derelict settlements. One thing that we've been seeing recently is Turbulent working on the anti-cheat system, but they also spent a lot of the last month going through login flow, performance improvements for the reputation service, and the web platform part of Turbulent pushed forward with backlog and tech debt cleanup in preparation for the year ahead. In some of the best news so far this year, the UI team have been progressing with the features for the new star map. The old star map is incredibly outdated, barely works half the time, and I am so excited for it to actually be a nice looking UI. I've mentioned before on stream and in some old videos, everything that gets implemented into building blocks looks great. Aesthetically super pleasing. We've seen that with the reputation system, we've seen that with the new inventory system, and we've seen it with the Mo Trader. So now that the star map is moving towards it, can we get a comms update, maybe? They also began converting the visor and lens to building blocks. Additional polish on the medical screens was undertaken. The UI feature team made the final polish and bug fixing passes on refueling. And once again, we got kind of a little look at the refueling UI a couple of weeks ago during an ISE. The UI tech team continued refactoring the AI marker system, with the UI artists creating different icons. Functionality and developer experience for building blocks was further developed, with a variety of feature requests completed throughout the month. Vehicle tech team spent most of the time fixing bugs last month and working on tools that are going to assist with them fixing bugs with doors and elevators. And lastly, the VFX team, one of my favorite teams in the entirety of Star Citizen, continued their work on salvage effects, including using both particle emitter strength curves to show when there's nothing left to salvage in a chosen area. They're also collaborating with the weapons feature team to make sure that it's the best looking player experience. In addition, they completed pre-production on the Miss Hull A, some effects passes on the Maria Pure of Heart Hospital, and they gave some effects support to a new destructible prop. So there you have it. That's the roadmap roundup and the Persistent Universe monthly update. Now there is a Squadron 42 monthly update as well, but I highly recommend you go read that one yourself. As you can see, this video is already probably too long, but there was a ton of stuff done last month. I'm kind of surprised the roadmap roundup was as small as it is, considering how large the monthly report was. But that's it. I'm excited for Rivers, I'm excited for Salvage, I'm excited for Refueling. Lots of cool stuff being done last month. If you like the video, make sure to give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe and click the notification bell to get notifications every time I post a video, which I'll be doing a lot more of over the next couple of weeks. Star Citizen's getting exciting again. I'm excited. Are you?